Can you set up the triple jump takeoff like the long jump takeoff to get a better overall jump distance? Well, now, generally speaking, the triple jumper runs through the board flatter compared to the long jumper. The long jumper also needs to impart more vertical velocity at takeoff through their one flight. Now, there are some similarities that are becoming apparent between long and triple jump takeoffs, in that some triple jumpers do set their takeoffs up rather like the long jumper. So Pablo Pichardo, for example, does that, and so does Nelson Evora. However, if you look at Will Clay, you'll see a more traditional approach to the triple jump, where he runs straight through with hardly any lowering, if any at all, of the centre of mass. However, take a closer look at Evora and Pichardo and you will see a definite set, and this is something also that Yulimar Rojas of Venezuela also does. So I've begun to look more into that to see whether or not setting up for the triple jump will pay particular dividends. The more I looked into it, the more I discovered that the type of hop takeoff and its setup is very much reflexive of the phase ratios and whether or not the jumper is hop dominant or jump dominant. Well, I think you need to work out, or we as coaches and athletes need to work out what type of jumper you are. Then, if you're hop dominant, you could potentially play around with setting up the hop. Indeed, you may already be doing it, but nobody's actually noticed it. I found that to be potentially the case with some of my athletes who are hop dominant. What they tend to do is load a little bit more, and it's more difficult for them to run through the takeoff, although with some of the examples you're seeing on screen now, I am getting them to do that. However, on reflection, it's still a good idea to look at the potentialities of setting up the hop in order that you can get a different type of trajectory. Now, of course, this requires a different type of strength, as the forces that you're going to receive on contact out of the hop are going to be greater than the flatter jump dominated type of triple jumper. Into this mix we should also add arm action. Now with Ignatius, who you're seeing on screen now, he's taking his arm straight up, one of his arms, I think it's the left arm, straight up, whereas he wants to push his arms forwards and up to lift his centre of mass out into the hop and enable him to get a takeoff drive. Now, I always talk about a takeoff drive for the long jumpers and the importance of holding position off of the board before you go into your mid-air action. And it's very much the same with the triple jump. However, the way to achieve that drive is slightly different. In another video on the channel, I talked about how by pulling up the takeoff leg, the hop takeoff leg quickly behind the body will get you that drive position. In that if you leave the leg too far behind you to rotate, it can tilt you forwards and compromise the ability to get the free leg in front of the hips. We've found that pulling that leg diagonally across the takeoff will get a takeoff drive, and will also present the hopping leg into a much higher position in front of the hips when going into the step phase. What I do want to experiment more with now is for the hop dominant jumpers in particular, and for those that are having problems getting a drive off of the board, whether they're jump or hop dominant, is to try the setting up method to see whether or not going flat-footed on the penultimate will actually give them that time and that room to get the hip in. Now I know that it works for the long jump, so conceivably it could also work for the triple jump. Well, indeed it does if you're looking at Evora and Pichardo, for example. The difference being between the long and the triple jump is that the velocity has to be carried across the board that much flatter. So you can't overly lower on the penultimate compared to the long jump, which again, you shouldn't really do anyway. The objective is for both events to carry as much horizontal speed through the takeoff. However, positioning on the penultimate can enable the hips to move through differently into the hop takeoff or the long jump takeoff. So it's definitely worth experimenting with and trying different drills as to whether or not you can improve the hop takeoff in particular with a more flat foot penultimate step. Potentially, the way to achieve this is to place one mat on the third step out for the triple jumpers so that they will lower their centre of mass going into the penultimate and then stay level as they go into the takeoff. With the long jumpers, I tend to use two mats, one on the third step out and one on the takeoff step. So there will be a differential and it will create a da-da rhythm for the second to takeoff step, penultimate to takeoff step. With the triple jump, as far as I can see, you don't want such a distinct rhythm. You may set, as I'm talking about as the theme of this video, but you then need to move quicker onto the takeoff so that you don't overly go up into the air. If you do that, then you're going to lose momentum, too much momentum when you land out of the hop. I'm in the process of pulling together a much longer form triple jump video which looks at biomechanical data from the 2018 World Indoor Championships and indeed other championships and is combined with sports science research. Do look out for that video as a Coach Athletes Members video coming out at the end of February. And as I'm talking, you're seeing some of the slides that I'm preparing for that video. So if you haven't considered, please do consider becoming a channel member. Go to the channel's homepage, click on the join button and look at the options which are available. If you've any specific questions on the subject matter of this video or indeed any of my others, then do please leave a comment in the section below or through my other social media. And please do subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification icon so that you'll know when I upload new content. And do also please give this video a thumbs up, a like. And of course, good luck with your training and your competitions. As I said in the last video, we're right in the middle of the indoor season at the time of making this video. So do let us know how you get on. Freelap have just launched a new piece of kit. Now, this looks like the TX Junior Pros, the pyramids, yellow pyramids, that record the times as the athletes pass them. But what this one does, it actually gives you the command on your marks and sets the athlete off with a bang. So it emits the sounds through a speaker built into it. It gives you a 10-second lead in once you press the set button, and then randomly within I think a 2.5 second period, the gun will fire through the device to set you off. Now that triggers the system. So it's going to be a very accurate way to measure starts. If you want to find out more, then do get in contact with me. If you like the Jumps Squad merchandise that I often wear in these videos, then do check out the spring store. You'll see the products available underneath this video, for example, and I've launched a new backpack, rucksack, with the Jump Squad logo on it. So do check that out.